It's day one of the 11th month of the year, but did you know it was once the 9th? Hence the origin of its name. See, November is derived from the Roman word novem, which means 9, a fitting name back when there were only 10 months in the year. The months of January and February were added in 45 BC, rounding out the calendar we have today. 9 or 11, the 30 days of November mark an interesting period of transition when most of us are really counting down to the year-end holiday season. But let's not treat this November like a pit stop on the way to Christmas and the New Year. Let's embrace this month, this day, as an opportunity to learn new things, explore new things, and experience new things. This is Jamaica Magazine, your Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry. Join me after the break for the news of the day.
Crime and violence is infecting our youth. We must work together to rescue them from the gangs, engage them in productive activities, and safeguard Jamaica's future.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, November 1, 2022. A call is being made for a more global collaborative approach to tackling violence against children. United Nations Special Representative Dr. Najat Mala-Mjid believes this approach will be more effective to meet the targets of the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Dr. Mjid says it also makes economic sense as violence against children is costing 5% of national GDP and 8% globally. She was speaking on JIS's current affairs program Get the Facts during an official visit to Jamaica recently. The UN Special Representative says many countries are lagging behind because of various humanitarian, climate and global financial crises, as well as the socioeconomic impact of COVID-19 and huge displacement of children worldwide due to conflicts. She also believes that policies are not effectively translated in services that are accessible to all children without discrimination.
What is needed is to build on these lessons and to switch from this siloed approach and this initiative approach that are not sustainable to really build cross-sectoral child and gender-sensitive services, when children can find directly and immediately access to protection, to justice, to health, to social protection, to all these services they need in a very prompt way.
Speaking to the Jamaican situation, Dr. Mjid praised the country's strong political commitment to tackling violence against children.
At political level, even at high level, but also strong commitment and involvement, regarding, the program I visit, those who are really heading the agencies to deliver services for children and family, for girls who are pregnant, for children with disabilities.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries will be implementing a comprehensive program to support the introduction of a more cost-effective method of improving fertilizers to increase crop yield. Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says the ministry has been reviewing guidelines for research, development, and use of new blends. In addition, he says the ministry will be working with stakeholders to train and sensitize farmers on the proper use and application of fertilizers.
Because one of the issues that I have come to understand is that you have many farmers, particularly small farmers, who are buying the wrong fertilizer, who are buying fertilizer and using it, applying it in excessive amounts, who are not connecting the use of fertilizer excessively to damaging the soil and how that impacts the other cycles of production that you are hoping to have.
Minister Charles was speaking at the recent launch of Hypro's Diamond Hour per coat control release fertilizer, which makes it possible to match the supply of nutrients with the nutritional needs of plants throughout the growing season. Manufacturers are being urged to consider exporting high-value products to CARICOM member countries. Agriculture and Fisheries Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says this nearshore market offers opportunities which manufacturers should prioritize. He was speaking during a recent tour of CAL's Manufacturing Limited's facilities in Kingston. In the meantime, he says government continues its efforts to establish vital infrastructure such as storage capacity, warehouses, and livestock pounding facilities in order to build a more resilient agriculture sector. The minister says Jamaica's import substitution program will receive more attention in an effort to boost demand for locally produced goods and create new opportunities for farmers. Government is looking to diversify its dissemination of information through the Jamaica Information Service, JIS. Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, Robert Morgan, pointed to the need for a shift in operations to combat the prevalence of misinformation in the public sphere. Speaking at the JIS's strategic planning meeting at Jamaica House on Friday, he said greater use of different media platforms was critical to ensuring the timely delivery of accurate information on government policies and programs.
The government needs a seismic shift in how we transfer information to the public. It is not a choice. Whether we do it or not, what is happening in the society is going to happen. We have to make sure that recognizing how society has evolved, that we meet that evolution. So one of the things that I would love for GIS to engage in is an equipment audit and a staff audit. What is it that GIS needs to do over the next 3 to 5 years to make it into a world-class entity?
Mr. Morgan also lauded the JIS on its work, noting that the agency continues to thrive on its reputation of factual news output. And finally, the Minister with responsibility for information says government is committing to improving the operations of the Housing Agency of Jamaica, HAJ. Minister Robert Morgan was responding to journalists at last week's post-cabinet press briefing.
The government's interest at this point is to run a proper HAJ. Since we've been in government from 2016, we have reduced the debt from about $3.5 billion that the HAJ owed to NHT, and that is where the titles, the people's titles, were used as security. We've reduced that debt to about $500 million.
He says the administration is moving to complete unfinished development projects of the HAJ and reduce the agency's debt burden. The Housing Agency of Jamaica is the government's core land and development agency, responsible for providing shelter solutions and regularizing informal settlements. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica. Original.
Prime Minister breaks ground for Jamaica's first STEAM Academy, opens Yalis Fire Station, and delivers more homes under the new social housing program. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Vanessa Silvera. Prime Minister Andrew Holness began his week at the groundbreaking ceremony for Jamaica's first science, technology, engineering, arts and mathematics STEAM Academy. The institution will be located in Bernard Lodge, St. Catherine. It is being built by public-private partnership and forms part of the government's long-term plans for the advancement and mainstreaming of STEAM education in Jamaica. Prime Minister Holness says the establishment of these schools is central to the continued transformation of the education sector.
The infrastructure part of it, the schools themselves, will be about $115.2 million. So these are not small allocations for the schools. We're going to put in the necessary ICT support, that is the computer. and training in computer sciences so that the teachers are able to integrate computer technology in every aspect of the curriculum. And then we have to do the capacity building. That is the training of the teachers.
The Jamaica 60 Legacy Project is designed to be climate resilient, green and technology driven.
So this fire station is a representation of the government's strategic intent of focusing on the development of this parish.
Firefighters in St. Thomas now have a modern, state-of-the-art operating base following the completion of the Yallas Fire Station. The station was built through the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, in partnership with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Prime Minister Andrew Holness officially opened the space last Wednesday.
This is one of 3 major fire stations that we are building. I opened one in St. James. This one I'm opening, and we're going to do, there's one in St. Mary, which is underway.
Construction of the Yallas Fire Station was financed through JSIF's Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Program to the tune of $162 million under a financing agreement between the Government of Jamaica and the World Bank. It will benefit more than 95,000 residents across communities in St. Thomas. While in St. Thomas on Wednesday, the Prime Minister delivered 3 more units under the new social housing program, the NSHP. The number of homes delivered now stands at 106. The beneficiaries, Keith James of Duckenfield, Dawn Cargill of Curtis Bottom, and Nimroy Henry of Harbour Head in Port Morant, all received keys to their new homes from Prime Minister Andrew Holness. During the handover ceremony in Curtis Bottom, Mr. Holness revealed that 20 more NSHP houses would be available for delivery in November.
If we are able to do 20 each month, you can see that the program will eventually get to all the people we need. If we treat with those that are really at the bottom, we would have improved the level for everyone in a fair way.
The beneficiaries also signed a social contract that comes with receiving the units. It outlines the duties and responsibilities of each beneficiary, such as the rules that guide maintenance and expansion of the houses. Over in Clarendon, approximately 15,000 residents of Crofts Hill, Roden Hall, Douglas Castle, Roe Town and adjoining communities are now benefiting from improved water supply. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Matthew Samuda, visited the parish recently to commission the Mason River, Kellett's Sandy River water supply scheme.
This is the basic right of all of our citizens, and we are going to work to ensure that the 22% of our citizens nationally that don't have potable water get it in the shortest possible time.
The project was completed by the National Water Commission NWC at a cost of $250 million. Minister Samuda was also in Portmore, where residents in Nago Head, Old Brayton, Newlands and other areas are set to benefit from the non-revenue water NRW reduction program being implemented by the NWC in collaboration with Maya Jamaica. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister. I'm Vanessa Silvera.
November, the last day of the month actually, marks the official end of the Atlantic hurricane season. This means we can breathe a sigh of relief, right? No need to keep on the alert for those weather systems that have the potential for massive destruction. No, being alert and prepared never goes out of season. And the old adage, disasters can strike at any time, is based in fact. So let's see about making sure that whatever nature has in store for us, we are as ready as humanly possible. One item you need to mark off your preparation checklist: where to go when your home is no longer a haven from nature's fury.
It doesn't always have to be a hurricane. A disaster can strike at any time, natural or man-made, and you may not be thinking about a shelter. But shelters are a critical part of the government's disaster plan to ensure the safety of citizens in the event of a natural or man-made catastrophe. But let's rewind a little. Do you know the nearest shelter in your community?
We use schools as shelters, community centers, churches. All of these are utilized for the purpose of assisting persons that would need accommodation in times of emergencies. And so that is the role of the shelter. In terms of the number of shelters that we have, it could be in the region over 900, about 900 shelters that we have across Jamaica.
We always grab our phones when we're in trouble. And this time we are searching for the nearest emergency shelter on the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management ODPEM website. Select the Shelters tab, choose your parish, then download the listing to see all available shelters in or near your community. You can also browse the interactive map and click on the red dots to identify the shelters. ODPEM also updates its website with the new shelter listings once the annual inspections are completed.
The reason for this is because sometimes some schools can be removed from the listing, and so we would need to, of course, have that information properly and well communicated for persons to be able to know what to do when it is time to go to a shelter. Disaster shelters are activated in two ways. They're done nationally and they're done at the parish level, parish or community specific, for parish or community specific impacts. Now, large-scale hurricanes, for example, when we have lead time, so sometimes when we're tracking these storms and we have lead time 2 or 3 days, then the shelter managers are activated, right, alerted through the parish mechanism. And so they are on standby to open the shelters. So informing the public, that is done through the formal mechanism of press releases that are sent to media houses to let, of course, persons know that shelters are activated, and persons should, of course, go to their nearest shelter. The ODPEM also passes information about shelter activation through our various other social media handles, the Facebook and Twitter and all of the others. And of course, where communities are generally impacted all the time, these persons know their shelters, they know their shelter managers, and so, the information is kind of fluid.
Good afternoon. My name is Rosemary Livingston.
Good afternoon, Ms. Livingston. I'm Chevelle.
I'm here to tell you, Chevelle, the things you should take to the shelter and what you should not take. Okay? You can carry stuff like tin sardine, tin mackerel. You can have a little lemonade drinks, oats, and your biscuit, and your lasco, and your wipes, your clothes. Make sure you come with your sanitary napkin.
Do I have to put the clothes in a plastic bag?
Yes, in case of there's rain, you have them in the plastic bags. You come with your medication. And if you have children, you carry their medication. See, I plastic them. What you should not take to the shelter: no knife, no cigarettes, no pets, and no bad behavior.
Okay, that is it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
The COVID-19 pandemic shifted emergency shelter operations with an added focus on keeping persons safe from transmissible diseases. Shelter managers are trained to observe COVID-19 protocols, and this includes having an isolation area. The safety of every emergency shelter is paramount, and this means that shelter rules must be followed.
This government, since 2016, have made arrangements that once the shelters are occupied, we will provide food supplies for persons within the shelters. So the rules that are laid out are clear. It is written all over the board. You see it. Shelter rules.
Emergency shelters are also being retrofitted to provide better mobility for disabled persons. Shelter managers across all parishes are trained each year and provided with refresher trainings in an ongoing program. According to the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, IFRC, disaster preparedness isn't just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do.
Given our realities, some communities are vulnerable, and so the shelters would definitely not be in such a vulnerable location. And so where those cases exist, there is an arrangement at the municipal corporation level where the vulnerable population is actually transported to these shelters.
Can strike at any time. In the event of one, be prepared to act quickly. If a hurricane watch or warning has been issued, review your home disaster response plan. Map out likely routes to evacuate if your home is at risk, and confirm with relatives or friends you plan to stay with. Also, confirm the location of the nearest shelter. Check your emergency supplies and restock if necessary. Remember, disasters do happen, so be prepared.
Hurricanes and other storms represent dangers from outside. But what about the dangers from within, like a fire? In the last days of last month, the Jamaica Fire Brigade was on a mission of awareness, going into schools, businesses, and other establishments across the island with fire prevention tips. Today, we're eliciting their help to assist you in fireproofing your homes.
Fire! Fire! My bed, my clothes.
Same script, different day. What's worse, sometimes a human being, even a child, dies in these unfortunate situations. The loss of lives and valuables as a result of fires is impacting those who remain behind. The mental effort to get up from the ashes. Taxpayers too are being burnt, as more dollars are being shelled out for fire emergency operations. Homeowners must implement fire safety plans.
It's important for us to fireproof our homes because we have our families, and we normally have strict guidelines as to how you operate within the home, or you store your chemicals as it relates to your kitchen, how you manage your heat sources, how you handle your plugs. So the safety measures that you take as it relates to the protection of your children.
Here are a few situations you must avoid to prevent losing your home to fire. Finally home from a tired day at work. The first thing many people do is get something to eat. Now, this is when a fire safety sin is usually committed: having a cigarette while tired, or the stove is left on. What else at home are you not doing safely? Like this, using a computer or mobile phone on the bed. So they should not be used on flammable surfaces such as beds or sofas.
Leaving your cell phones on your bed can trigger the ignition temperatures of that spread or sheet, and can actually cause a flame. So we encourage you not to leave your cell phones unattended. It's an active source of heat, and worse when it is charging. It has caused many house fires based on our statistics. Based on investigation from fires, we find that most of the times it's because we leave our children unattended, right? So we leave them with the matches, we leave them with the candles, we leave them with the lighters, and we leave them with maybe a laptop or an iPod, something to keep their attention, but they are fascinated by a flame.
Here are some other factors found by the brigade to be the major causes of fires within the home. Clothes put to dry at the back of the refrigerator. Storing plastics on cooking gas cylinders.
We identify this as a fire hazard because if you notice, it is pretty much close to the source of heat, which would have been the stove itself. All right? So we can have a spark from this. The Jamaica Fire Brigade encourages that cylinders over 30 pounds should be stored outside. So here we have two heat sources, a microwave and a toaster oven. All right? Plus, there is a charger plugged directly between both sources of heat. What we encourage is that there should be sufficient space to allow for air to pass through. In the bathrooms, the heat sources, for example, your blow dryer, you leave those on running while you do other stuff, while you wash your face, something. But leaving them near your towels and your other materials that can burn, your clothes, that can spark flames.
As for power strips, they should not be overloaded.
So we also encourage that if you're using extension cords, do not run them behind furniture, do not run them under the carpet, because the constant pressure on the cords themselves will cause breakage. Again, if it is near a combustible material, it can cause a fire.
It is crucial that these fire safety measures are adhered to. Every home should have a fire safety plan that is known by each member of the household. Lastly, but very important, keep the numbers of the nearest fire station saved in your telephone contacts.
The general public can make a request for us to come inside the homes, check where you should have a smoke detector, check where an extinguisher should be, because you should have these in your homes as well.
Well, just like that, the clock says we must close the curtains on this production. But don't worry, we open them again tomorrow for another show. If you're new here, you might not realize there's a treasure trove of other great shows and information on the JIS website. The link is on the screen. Thanks for making it Jamaica Magazine today. I'm Theodore Henry. On behalf of the entire production crew, I wish you a great rest of the week and see you next time.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.